Hi, my name is Rob Swanson, and if you love the idea of designing your life, you're in the right place. This is the show about real estate, money, and life to get you motivated and help you navigate the road to freedom. Whether you want to start investing in real estate, scale your business to the next level, or sit back and reap the rewards from passive income, I'm here to help you achieve freedom in all areas of your life. So now, sit back and enjoy. This is the Real Estate Mogul Podcast. Hey friends, Rob Swanson back here with another episode of the Real Estate Mogul Podcast. Hey, today we're going to be talking about finding deals and real estate marketing. In fact, we're going to kick off a series called Deals on Demand. This is the Real Estate Mogul Deals on Demand series, and I'm going to dive in and I'm going to take you step by step through the process of finding deals in any market. And I'm going to start us off by saying this. It all starts by building a prospect list. So I hear this all the time. Rob, it's really hard to find real estate deals. The market is too competitive. Prices are high and sellers want full price. So this conversation comes from discussions with real estate investors, people that are trying to get into the business, learn the business, and figure out how to create deals on demand. And what they're running into is a pretty common thing for new aspiring real estate investors, and that is they end up talking to the wrong people. And they're talking to the wrong people because they're talking to people that are retail sellers, because retail sellers don't have problems. And generally, what you want is, as a real estate investor, is to solve problems. So if you're talking to just quote unquote any and every seller, you're probably right. The market does feel too competitive. Prices do feel high and sellers are asking for full price. Most sellers want retail prices and they should get that. They're not in a situation that would create motivation, and motivation is a word that we're going to talk about in a few moments, because motivation is the driver that creates opportunities. And those opportunities are for you to solve problems. If somebody has a problem and you can help them solve their problem with their real estate or by using their real estate, you win. And everybody wins. It's a win-win scenario. And so when I hear this conversation that people have with me, and that is things are too hard and I don't know how to find good deals and there aren't good deals out there, I back us up for a moment and I say, well, let's do two things. Number one, let's understand that consistent good deals starts with understanding how to build a good prospect list. And number two, finding good deals starts with defining what a deal actually is. And I've talked about this on previous episodes, and we'll talk about it again in the future. But if we just talk about defining a deal for a moment and take a little sidebar before we get into building a prospect list, the definition of a deal does vary slightly for most real estate investors. Now, although there are certain fundamental criteria that are pretty universally accepted, you could talk to 3 different real estate investors, and they would all give you a slightly different definition of what a good deal is. Now, in the last podcast episode, I talked about my personal buy box, what I like to buy when it comes to single-family residential real estate investments. And, that buy box is based on my answer to this simple question: how do I want my money to perform? And, the definition of a deal really starts there. It starts with the investor. It starts with their motivation and goals. What are they trying to accomplish by investing in real estate? It continues with their acceptance of risk. How much risk are they willing to take? If they're willing to take more risk, they're willing to take a smaller profit. That means they'll pay a higher price. And so all of these things factor into the scenario of what defines a deal. If we step back then and say, well, what's the goal of the investor? There's short-term deals and there's long-term deals. A short-term deal would be like a fix and flip, where you buy it, renovate it, and quickly flip it for a profit. There's also long-term deals, which are more cash flow oriented, where you buy it, renovate it, and rent it out and hold it long-term. So short-term deals, long-term deals. And I used the word renovate in both of those scenarios. Oftentimes, there's some renovation in a good real estate deal. That's not always the case, but oftentimes it is. If the renovation is zero, that just the dollar amount of zero goes into your formula as you're running your math. And so the formula is pretty simple to define a deal. It's the problem plus your solution times the relief equals the profit. Now, let me explain what that means. The bigger the problem plus the bigger the solution times the relief that the seller feels equals a profitable real estate deal. So what you want to be doing is going into this business of real estate investing with the mindset that says, I need to solve problems. I need to find sellers that have problems. I need to get good at solving them. The bigger the problem, plus the bigger your solution, times the amount of relief felt by that seller equals your profit. When you get good at that and when you recognize that, you are well on your way to a consistent deal flow because you've defined what a deal is. You understand, I'm not just looking to make a lowball offer. I'm actually looking for problems. I'm looking for problems. And problems come in two shapes and sizes. And I learned this from one of my mentors 20 years ago. Problems come in the form of property problems, and they come in the form of people problems. And this was from my friend Todd Dotson years ago. And one of the guys that I learned this business early on from, and he said that in one of the classes that I learned from, he said, problems come in two forms, problem properties and problem people. And when you get good at solving both and recognizing both, you win. So if you're interested in a real estate analysis and the definition of a deal training, you can go to realestatemogul.com/napkin. On that page is a video that you can watch that breaks down what makes a real estate deal a deal. It walks you through the math. It walks you through the analysis process. It shows you what makes a deal a deal. Because what I want you to be able to do is look at any real estate deal, whether it's a single family house, 100-unit apartment complex, 200 unit storage facility, or any other type of real estate out there. I want you to be able to look at that deal and have a formula and approach to say, how am I going to approach figuring out what makes this deal a deal? And so go to realestatemogul.com/napkin, NAPKIN, and you're going to be taken to a page where you can watch that video. It will walk you through everything step by step. You'll also have the ability to download a free real estate deal evaluation guide. Now, this guide, it's a simple step-by-step cheat sheet to help you plug in the numbers and evaluate a real estate deal. So if that's helpful to you, go over there right now and download that. Now, let's go back to the number one thing that I said at the beginning, and that is your prospects. The number one secret to creating deals on demand is building a prospect list of motivated sellers, not just any seller, but motivated sellers. So sellers that have a problem, because those are the problems that you can solve. So you're looking for that, not quite needle in a haystack, but definitely a smaller segment of the seller population. So as a real estate investor, probably 5% of sellers out there have a problem. And you're looking for conversations with those sellers who have a problem that you can solve. Now, what's interesting is most retail sellers, they know they want to sell. So they're choosing to sell and they're making the decision to sell. And so they call a real estate agent, they list their property in the MLS, the multiple listing service, with an agent, and that's what we call the retail market. Most motivated sellers maybe feel like they should sell, maybe know they need to sell, but they're not sure how to sell because there's a problem either in their personal life or in their property situation, and they don't think they can sell. So most real estate deals come from properties that are not already listed for sale. The seller hasn't made a decision to list the property and try to sell it. So you're going to be doing marketing that is going to get sellers to see your marketing message and respond to that marketing message in a way to say, hey, maybe you have a solution to my problem. So you need to be talking to motivated sellers, someone with a problem that you can solve. So there's 5 steps to getting deals on demand. And we're going to dive into each of these steps through our Deals on Demand series here on the Real Estate Mogul podcast. Step number 1, and I want you to write these down, is build a prospect list. Number 1, build a prospect list. And that's what we're going to dive into next. We're going to talk about what does it mean to build a prospect list and how do you do it. As the first step in the 5 steps to getting deals on demand, we have to understand that we're looking for a smaller segment of the population that would own real estate and be interested in selling. And that's a key word, an interested seller. That's the starting point for this prospect list. Is there motivation going on in the life or in the property that would create an interested seller? So step 1 is build a prospect list. Step 2 is send out marketing. So once you build a prospect list, you have to build marketing that has messaging that is going to connect and actually offer a solution to the problem that your prospect list is likely to have. And when we talk about the 8 Ds that make deals, you're going to understand how to connect the message with the market. So your prospect list, you're going to build prospect lists that have certain types of situations going on. Your marketing then is going to speak to those situations. So step 2 is send out marketing. And the goal there is to get the potential seller's attention. You want them to see your marketing. You want them to be compelled to respond to that marketing, because when they respond, you end up in step 3, which is capture inbound leads. Now, capturing inbound leads is easier said than done for most people. And the reason for that is until you decide that you're going to use technology to your advantage, until you decide that you're going to use a system that's going to help you capture inbound leads, organize, and then automate the follow-up, you're going to find that you end up like I did early in my real estate investing career before software was available to help make this really simple. I ended up with yellow notepads here and a sticky note there and a scratch piece of paper over here. And I had notes for sellers that had called me on my personal cell phone all over the place. Now, if you're just getting started and you literally can't afford anything, that's a decent place to start. Like, do what you have to do. Capturing inbound leads and instantly organizing those inbound leads based on your prospect list, based on the marketing you sent out, and then capturing them into a lead campaign so you stay organized and you know what you have and you don't miss any leads. No leads left behind. That is such a key, because I'm going to give you guys a stat. I want you to hear this. 2/3 of all real estate deals that close profitably for a real estate investor and solve a seller's problem close because of follow-up. If you don't execute step 3, which is capture inbound leads, and if you don't get those organized And if you don't trigger automation to follow up or help you follow up, you're going to be missing 2/3 of your opportunities. So in the 5 steps to getting deals on demand, build a prospect list, send out marketing, capture your inbound leads. We'll go through this in greater detail in coming episodes in our Deals on Demand series. That's step 3. Step 4 is simply talk to people. You've got to talk to people. You've got to get on the phone. You've got to have conversations, and you've got to understand the problem, and you've got to offer a solution. And you've got to build trust, because people will work with people that know, like, and trust you. So the hardest part for most people is to simply pick up the phone. And that's because the mindset says you need to go sell something. The mindset says you need to get into a negotiation. That's the wrong mindset. You don't need to sell anything. You don't need to get into any negotiation. What you need to do is talk to people, understand why are they interested in selling. Here we are again. We're talking about an interested seller. Why are they interested in selling? What is their problem? How could you potentially solve their problem by buying their real estate? If you get good at having conversations with people and recognize that when you get on the phone, it's not about asking how many bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage and how's the roof and what's the color. That's all important. That's all important, but not initially. Get on the phone, build rapport, talk to people, and get yourself in a position of building trust and understanding the motivation behind their reason to sell. If you understand the motivation behind their reason to sell, you have the ability to follow the script down multiple different paths. You can make them different types of offers. When you get good at following a script and understanding what is the motivation behind someone interested in selling, you're going to then be able to follow that script path down a line that is going to take you right to step 5, which is making an offer. Because not all offers work for all sellers. Sometimes you need to make just a straight price offer. Sometimes you need to make some kind of a terms offer where they take payments over time. Depending on the motivation and the situation, the problem you're solving, the offer, the structure of your offer can take a lot of different forms. Now, most real estate investors, 90% of real estate investors out there make one type of offer. They make an offer that simply is, here's my price, here's the day I'm going to give it to you, and here's where we're going to close. And that's it.
Do you have what it takes to build a successful real estate investing business or scale your existing business to the next level, but you feel like you've hit a brick wall and there's something holding you back? If you answered yes, then my team of experienced real estate investor, business development consultants wants to talk to you. This is your opportunity to get paid while you learn the business. But this is not a coaching program, it's not daycare or mentoring. It's hands-on learning where you'll put in the work and we'll guide you through every step to split deals and make money together. I'm always looking for ways to expand my real estate investing business into new markets, create more passive income, and expand my hard money lending business. And my team of professional real estate investor coaches are always looking for ways to make more money by helping students close more deals. So we put our heads together and decided to bring on a small number of apprentices each month. This isn't for everyone, and there are a few requirements to being accepted into the program because this is the only program that we get paid on deal splits. If you're ready for the next level, are ready to join our success team, work directly with one of the experienced real estate investors on my team, and you're willing to put in the work and follow our guidance, go to realestatemogul.com/success to learn more. You'll learn what I'm looking for, how the program works, what you get from us, and what we'll expect from you. So do it right now. Go to realestatemogul.com/success.
Real estate investors that go to the next level start to learn how to solve bigger problems with better solutions, and they start to learn how to make different types of offers. So in our various training, coaching, and education programs, we teach those variety of different types of offers based on what a seller's situation is. So when you start to hear a certain seller situation, you start to, in your mind, go, okay, my offer structure maybe needs to look like A, B, or C. You start to build different types of offers that can be made to solve a particular seller's problem. And so when we work with people and we teach them, if they're having a conversation with a seller, here's how you think about making the offer. So to break this down again, the 5 steps to getting deals on demand, and what we're going to be going through our Deals on Demand series. Step one is build a prospect list. Step 2 is send out marketing. Step 3 is capture inbound leads. Step 4 is talk to people. And step 5 is make offers. Now, the number one KPI or key performance indicator in any real estate investing business is this: the number of offers you made last week. Somebody can come to me and they can say, hey, Rob, I'm doing the steps, I'm doing the thing, and it's not working. I'm not having success. Now, I'm going to make an assumption that you're doing the 5 things at a level of skill and following the process such that we would expect results to happen. And so I ask this one question. Well, okay, you're doing the 5 steps, or you're doing 4 of the 5 steps. Let me ask this one. How many offers did you make last week? And oftentimes people that come to me and say it's not working, or they work with one of our coaches and say it's not working, when we ask them that simple question, they say, well, none, or 1, or 2. The number one measure of success as a real estate investor is consistently making offers. So in order to consistently make offers, you have to consistently have a good prospect list. You have to consistently send out marketing. You have to consistently capture and organize and follow up on your inbound leads. You have to consistently talk to people, and you have to consistently make offers. So how do we build a prospect list? Well, there's 8 Ds that make deals. And again, I learned this 20 some years ago from my mentor, and it's held true to this day. There are certain things in real estate investing that never grow old. They never fall out of favor. They always consistently work. And the 8 Ds of understanding, how do I build a motivated seller prospect list? What does that even mean? Well, let me give you the 8 Ds. Number 1 is death. Number 2 is divorce. Number 3 is distance. Number 4 is damage. Number 5 is double payments. Number 6 is disagreements. Number 7 is distress. And number 8 is delinquent. So what you want to do is take those 8 Ds that make deals, and you want to build a prospect list based on any one or any combination of these criteria. Then what you do is you market to that list with a message that is going to solve that particular distressed problem, and you'll be well on your way to finding great real estate deals on a consistent basis. So let me talk about each of these. Number 1 was death. That's fairly self-explanatory. If someone in a family has passed away, and the heirs are now dealing with real estate that they previously didn't have desire or time or knowledge to deal with, and maybe that property has not been well maintained or something has happened, death triggers people to get involved in real estate that don't really want to be involved in real estate. And often if there's some other underlying D, like damage or distress or delinquency or something else going on, that creates motivation. So death is a motivating factor that leads to good real estate deals. It leads to big problems that we can solve and help people out of sticky situations. So number 2 is divorce. That one is fairly self-explanatory, right? In a divorce, when two people split and go their separate ways, oftentimes the real estate needs to be sold to extract whatever cash out of the equity there is so that it can be split up. The other scenario is one of the people in the scenario keeps the house, the other moves out and goes their separate way. That person that kept it finds that they can't afford it a few months down the road, and they find themselves in a position where they need to sell. So divorce is a personal situation that leads to a motivation to sell and an interested seller. That's number 2. Number 3, distance. Distance comes from a variety of flavors. Sometimes people move out of a house and they move to another city, to another state across the country, and now they've got distance between the house they're trying to sell and where they're relocating. And this happens because of job transfers. This happens because of moving to, help mom or dad. It happens for any number of reasons, but there's distance between the owner of the real estate, the owner of the house or the property, and the actual property. That distance creates one of the D's, and it creates a problem sometimes. It also happens, with landlords. Landlords may own out of state, and they own in XYZ city, but they live in ABC city, and all of a sudden this distance, they have a tenant problem, they have a property management problem, they have a contractor problem, and this distance creates this frustration that they no longer want to deal with it. And so distance is number 3. Damage is number 4. Damage is, just a damaged house, a house that has for years undergone less than what was needed maintenance, damage that was caused by weather, a storm, just rough living. I've seen that. Damage to the property. The property needs to be repaired. And oftentimes the seller does not either want to or does not have the ability to repair the property. And so they're stuck. The problem with this is they can't take it to the retail market, to a real estate agent, and list the property in many cases because the property is too damaged. In the retail market, in the MLS, and what most real estate agents work with, they work with buyers that are going to get bank financing. And a bank will not lend money on a property that has significant damage. And so the seller is stuck, and that's where we as real estate investors come in and solve problems. So that's number 4. Number 5 is double payments. So think back to the scenario a moment ago where we talked about distance, and let's say that somebody got a job transfer to another part of the country, and they put their house up for sale, and they moved somewhere else, and they either bought or are renting somewhere else. And now there's 2 motivating factors. There's distance and there's double payments. They own or are occupying 2 properties, paying rent in one and paying the mortgage in another, and now they have double payments. Double payments create motivation to sell faster and at a discounted price in some cases because they can only hang on making the double payments for so long. They're burning through their cash, they're burning through their savings, and we can solve that problem, and it helps them solve the problem if we buy the property. Now, this is a great example where understanding why a seller is interested in selling allows you to lead to different types of offers. You may make an offer that is a cash or a financed offer at a discount, but you may make an offer that is payments over time that covers that double payment, that second payment, that mortgage payment. You may make a terms offer and solve the cash flow bleeding. And that is a good example of how you can utilize understanding the motivating factor and the why behind selling to guide you to what type of offer actually makes sense. So number 5 is double payments. Number 6 is disagreements. Disagreements amongst family members, disagreements amongst partners, disagreements amongst business partners, disagreements among members of an LLC that happen to own a particular property, disagreements on what should be done, who should do it, who should pay for it, how much money should we spend on it, when should we do it, I want to sell it, I want to keep it. Disagreements create problems. And disagreements oftentimes lead to an interested seller that has motivation to just be done with it because they don't like the conflict of the disagreement. Most people don't like conflict. They want to do whatever they can to end the conflict. And so if you find yourself in that scenario, figure out how to bridge the gap between the two disagreeing parties so that both of them like you and solve their problem. Now, I've done this with families where siblings, multiple siblings, 2, 3, 4, 5 siblings, and that becomes a challenge to get everybody on the same page. They all have different ideas. That's why they have disagreements. And so figuring out how to solve each individual person's personality problem as it relates to solving the bigger problem of the disagreement through the real estate and making the offer come across as beneficial when different people have different ideas of what should be done is sometimes challenging. Disagreements create fantastic opportunities. Number 7, distress. Distress comes in a lot of different forms and fashions. And, distress can be triggered from life situations. It can be triggered from health situations. It can be triggered from personal and family situations. It can be triggered from work situations. It can be triggered from economic situations. Distress is the pressure of whatever else is going on in life makes dealing with the real estate no longer enjoyable, doable, feasible. So distress, and this is why you ask the questions of why. Why are you interested in selling? Understanding someone's motivation for why they would want to sell the property gives you insight into, that's the distress that's going on in their life. How do I solve that distress? By buying their real estate. Number 8 is delinquent. Delinquent is fairly self-explanatory. It is simply they're behind on their payments. And that's a pretty simple one. That leads to your pre-foreclosures. It hasn't gone to foreclosure yet, but it's headed that way because they're 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late. They're simply delinquent. Now, delinquent isn't only in mortgage. They could be delinquent in taxes. They could be delinquent in other liens. They could have other delinquencies going on in their life that would make them an interested seller. If they're delinquent over here on something completely separate and selling the real estate gets them the cash to make something else current, that is a delinquent problem that you can solve. So you're not always looking for delinquency as it relates to the real estate itself. There may be delinquency somewhere else. And so digging in and figuring those things out is going to take you to a place of success. So how do you do this? Well, if you are a subscriber and a user of FreedomSoft, inside FreedomSoft, we have a tool called Lead Finder, and we have a list building wizard that walks you through step by step this process. It helps you pick what type of lead you're going after. It helps you target in on your geography, and then it helps you add factors of motivation to build a prospect list that are actually going to get you to the place of, number one, having a prospect list that has an indications that there should be motivation. So build a prospect list. So inside of FreedomSoft, if you use FreedomSoft's Lead Finder wizard, it'll take you through that process, and you can build dozens of different types of motivation lists that you can then do your marketing to. Step one in the Deals on Demand series is build a prospect list. And you can make that as simple or as complicated as you want. And as you build the list, you start to think about these 8 Ds that make deals, and you ask yourself, which of these might exist here? And the wizard walks you through it, and it builds your list, and it puts it right into a list inside of your FreedomSoft account. And that's the simplest process that I can explain to you to do it. It's 3 steps. Go to Lead Finder, pick seller leads, pick your geography, and then walk through the wizard, and the wizard will just guide you through the process. It's really, really that simple. And so one of the things that I like to tell people to do is, as you're building your prospecting list, I like to step back one moment, and I like to introduce people to something that I call the honey hole method, because one of the biggest challenges that I see people run into or experience is they're building a list on the west side of town when all of the investors are doing, all of the successful investors are doing deals, making money, buying properties on the east side of town. And so why does that happen? And it's because people don't understand, number one, they say, okay, I want to build a prospect list of sellers. And then step 2 in our wizard says, where do you want to build that? What geography? Well, some people will come in and they'll pick an entire metropolitan area, and they'll kind of cover the entire metro. Well, that's how you end up with lists and leads on the side of town where nobody's buying, and then you're asking yourself, why isn't this working? So one of the things that I teach people is what I call the honey hole method. And the honey hole method finds overlapping areas where there's plenty of inventory and plenty of investor activity. Those 2 things tell you 2 things. The fact that there's plenty of inventory tells you that you're going to spend a reasonable amount of effort and money on your marketing to that particular prospect list, and you're going to get response. You're going to get activity because there's a large enough segment of distress in a particular geography. So you're looking for a geography that has a significant amount of distressed inventory, along with a geography that has a significant level of investor activity. The investor activity just tells us that investors are making money there. You don't have to recreate the wheel. If you're brand new to this, don't try to buy where nobody else is buying. Figure out, where are investors in my local area or in a market across the country making money? And let's figure out how to tap into that. What are they doing? How are they doing it? What are they buying? What price are they paying? And once you understand those things, you can really hone in on your Deals on Demand system. So the honey hole method is 5 simple steps, and I'm going to give them to you real quick. Number 1, pick your geography, i.e. the metro area. And this is where most people stop. And what I mean by that is they stop right here, and then they go in and they just start to build their list. And that gets them a very sort of watered down, broad list that isn't as helpful. It's not as focused on spending effort and spending money to produce results out of that list. It's a little bit more generic and watered down. So number one, pick your geography, your metro. Number two, we're going to go a little bit deeper. Find the pockets of high investor activity. Find the zip codes, the neighborhoods, the areas of town where there's a high investor activity already happening. If you can do that, you're steering yourself in the right direction. Number three in the honey hole method is to find overlapping pockets of high distressed inventory. So you're number one, going to pick your geography, your city, your metro area. Number two, you're going to identify pockets of high investor activity, and then you're going to identify the overlapping pockets of high distressed inventory. Now, you're saying to yourself, how do I do that? Well, inside of FreedomSoft, we have a tool called Zip Finder, and Zip Finder does this for you automatically. All you have to do is pick your geography, pick the area that you want to start with, and run the Zip Finder tool in that geography. And FreedomSoft will identify and actually map out these pockets of high investor activity with pockets of high distressed inventory. Those overlapping pockets where those two things overlap, that's what I call the honey hole. That's where you want to spend your time, money, energy, and effort finding deals. So number one, pick your geography. Number two, find your pockets of high activity, high investor activity. Number three, find overlapping pockets of high distressed inventory. Number four, select your top 10 overlapping zip codes. And that's where Zip Finder comes into place. Zip Finder will map for you and give you the list of all zip codes in the geography from 1 down to as many as there are, but it will rank them for you and give you the top 10 overlapping zip codes. Select your top 10 overlapping zip codes is step 4 in the honey hole method. And step 5 is start your marketing engine. This takes us to step 2 in the Deals on Demand series, which is after you build your marketing, your prospect list, you've got to start your marketing engine and launch your marketing campaigns. So friends, I hope this was an exciting podcast. I hope you got a lot of information. I hope it helped clarify what you're trying to do as you build a prospect list. Because if you get that piece right, everything that follows becomes easier. So friends, this is Rob Swanson, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Do you have what it takes to build a successful real estate investing business or scale your existing business to the next level, but you feel like you've hit a brick wall and there's something holding you back? If you answered yes, then my team of experienced real estate investor, business development consultants wants to talk to you. This is your opportunity to get paid while you learn the business. But this is not a coaching program, it's not daycare or mentoring. It's hands-on learning where you'll put in the work and we'll guide you through every step to split deals and make money together. I'm always looking for ways to expand my real estate investing business into new markets, create more passive income, and expand my hard money lending business. And my team of professional real estate investor coaches are always looking for ways to make more money by helping students close more deals. So we put our heads together and decided to bring on a small number of apprentices each month. This isn't for everyone, and there are a few requirements to being accepted into the program because this is the only program that we get paid on deal splits. If you're ready for the next level, are ready to join our success team, work directly with one of the experienced real estate investors on my team, and you're willing to put in the work and follow our guidance, go to realestatemogul.com/success to learn more. You'll learn what I'm looking for, how the program works, what you get from us, and what we'll expect from you. So do it right now. Go to realestatemogul.com/success.